Hello and welcome to Division One Rejects. I'm your host Kobe Manzo here in our studio, which is actually my dorm. We've got two cameras set up today. We're gonna have one tight shot on me and then another awesome shot where you can see our, like I said, our wonderful studio. Today I'm joined by Zach Keene. Zach, how you doing?
Doing great.
And Connor's not available today, so on the board we have Jet Harris. Jet, what's going on, brother?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Now, Division One Rejects, if you guys didn't listen to our introduction earlier in the week, it's a podcast where usually we have three guys on here that play in Division II football up in the UP at Northern Michigan University, and we just weren't good enough to go D1. So we're here to talk about it instead of play it. And now the podcast will be available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Anchor.fm, and now obviously it will be available on YouTube as we're cutting to the cameras, and if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Joining us today on our first episode, we have safety from Northwood University and personal friend, also a legendary Oxford High School football player, Drew Carpenter. Let's hear it. And a boy, Drew!
Let's go.
How's it going, Drew? What you up to?
Nothing much. Just watching some football. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm excited. This is fun stuff.
Of course, man. Now, you're in a very similar situation to us, also playing in the GLIAC down in the Lower Peninsula, however, at Northwood University in Midland. What has your first impressions of college football been like with COVID as rampant as it has been?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you don't know what normal college football is like yet, right? I mean, we're going through something totally different. It's something that's never happened before. But so far, the coaches, it's their jobs, right? They're not teaching or anything like that. All they do is football. So, it's really competitive. Guys are going in there. They're trying to, be the best they can be and, play. And, we're just, waiting to see what would happen now.
For sure. Now, the GLIAC right now are actually limited to 8 hours of team activities per week. So that means team meetings, lifting, workout, whatever it is where you have teammates present and you're trying to get work in as a collective group, you only have 8 hours. How big of a change is, for you for this? I mean, I know we have very limited experience with this. We don't know what you said. Like you said, a regular season is like, and I use air quotes because we haven't had one of those yet. But what do you see as far as your group of guys with your on the field and or off the field chemistry heading into the season? How is that going to affect you guys?
I mean, personally, we're all still chilling in the dorm, so our freshman class is super close. We hang out all the time. It's like an open door policy. Like anyone just walks in anyone's room, we all just chill, right? On the field, there's besides my DB group and my freshman class, I really, I don't know a lot of guys yet, because we're not able to see everyone. So, still introducing everyone, hi, my name's Drew. How are you? Where are you from? What position you play? All that type of stuff. Hasn't happened, as much as you expect. The coaches are, everyone knows the coaches. Coaches are really cool, but knowing the other position groups, that's something that hasn't happened yet. But I'm hoping, as time moves on, we'll be able to do that. But that's pretty much the on the field stuff. Off the field, my freshman class were really close, so I really enjoy that.
So Drew, I know there's kind of differences in every college right now. So I was just wondering, what are your COVID-19 protocols, I guess you could say, for your football players and your general public around Midland?
So we're constantly, got to wear masks everywhere. We do have in-person class, but you have to have the mask on the entire time. So constantly like that. We have these health checks on this app. I forget what it's called, but we have to do that before every practice. Making sure, if you're feeling sick, then don't come to practice. Go get checked up and everything like that. A couple of our guys in wide receiver groups and defensive back groups did get COVID, and they were shipped off to a hotel in Midland where they had to go through the quarantine and everything like that. And then they have to pass certain tests to come back to practice. So that's pretty much where we're at right now.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of schools are going to have to battle with that. Whatever happens, you get one guy on a team that has COVID, all of a sudden, not only everybody that he lives with in that whatever house, dorm, whatever is obviously going to quarantine, but then you talk about a lifting group or a workout group, your meeting group, then they have to go through and do all of that contact tracing. It's going to be a huge challenge for a bunch of schools.
So that's exactly what happened. We had a guy, there's a receiver, said he wasn't feeling good, and he infected his receivers and then the DB group as well because they were living together. So
The NCAA, as you probably know, has granted an extra year of eligibility to all college athletes. So a lot of guys at this Division II level who have been redshirted and now are probably fifth-year seniors, those like super seniors almost, they have this extra year of eligibility. Now, most of them are in a weird or kind of peculiar situation where they've already graduated from the university. They've got their degree, they've fulfilled their credits. Now they have the opportunity to come back possibly for an extra football season. What's the consensus at Northwood, and are these guys going to stick around and play out another year, or are they just going to be gone and going into their future careers?
Well, one of the first things that, this is even before COVID and before, I even committed to Northwood. Coach Haynes, our head coach, he said that, Northwood does a lot of those seniors, the redshirt kids, hoping they can play that fifth year. But with job opportunities coming, real easily at Northwood due to our business school, a lot of people opt out of that fifth year. And so with COVID, I don't know how someone can look at, am I making close to, a good amount of money so I can provide, start my career, or do I want to keep paying to go to school to potentially play a 6-game schedule, 7-game schedule with no postseason aspirations with, the NCAA canceling that. So, I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where it's still in the air. Guys definitely still want to play, but it's one of those things where it's like if job opportunities, staring right in your face, it comes down to it. So I don't know personally what, how many guys we have. We're a young team, so that also helps too. We don't have a lot of fifth years. We're a lot of, fourth-year seniors right now because they were getting redshirted. They're, seniors in the classroom, juniors on the field. So, we'll see about that. But other than that, that's pretty much where we're at with the, opportunities and future careers.
Got you. That's a huge impact, too, and a little self-promotion there. I like that from the Northwood and the business school, just job opportunities coming left and right. But
yeah.
That'll definitely be something that we'll see, going into the season.
So, Drew, you guys all just want to play ball even with no postseason or championship or anything going on? You guys just all still have a general feeling of wanting to play?
For sure. 100%. My brothers are in high school and middle school football, and I get to come back and watch them. But it's like, how come I don't, get to come back and go back to school and then go play Grand Valley or you guys or whoever in, that Saturday? It just makes no sense to me. We're all ready to get on the field. A lot of installs still to, do. But in general, we just all want to get onto the field. We're there to play football and get an education. And if you're only getting half of that, you just feel like you're missing out on something. So the consensus around the entire team is, let's just play some football already. Everyone else is playing except the GLIAC, it feels like right now.
Seriously.
So it's kind of sucks to see that, but you're hopeful. And if they were to say we're playing, in 3 weeks, it'd be awesome. If they were to say that we're playing in the spring, it'd be awesome. Just to tell us that we're playing is just better than nothing.
Exactly. And now, like you said, we're in a much different situation than those guys who are fourth or fifth year seniors, and they've, grown accustomed to these regular seasons of the GLIAC and possible postseason aspirations. But for us, like you said, 3 games is enough. I shouldn't say that because I'd like to be much more positive and say we can get our 8-game conference schedule in. But right now, if 3 games was the alternative to no football at all, like you said, we'd take it in a heartbeat just because we have not had the chance to play any at that collegiate level. But just kind of moving on from college, I appreciate your insight down there from Midland. But what NFL games you watching today?
I got, my boy Baker and the Browns. They looking to get a winning record today. Plus I got Jonathan Taylor in my fantasy team, so I'm gonna be watching him. The Lions are probably gonna lose, but I got Kyler, so I'm okay with that. So we'll see.
He knows.
Big day today, I guess. Especially after yesterday, college football, man. I mean, LSU going down, Oklahoma going down. I feel like anything can happen this year in both sports. So that means the Cleveland Browns making the playoffs. I think that can happen too. So we'll see.
I thought the Lions were making the playoffs. I thought this was their year. So I'm hoping that you're just as disappointed as I am. But
I hope I'm not as disappointed as your father on Twitter. He seems to be getting pretty heated.
Yeah, no, like you said, the upsets with college football and everything. I mean, did you expect some of this stuff to happen coming back off of COVID and these teams not being around each other? I mean, defending national champs LSU, even without, they lost pretty much every single starter on offense to the draft. I mean, do you expect these things to happen coming back into the season, or what was the consensus?
Honestly, I mean, I expected the LSU to be it's going to be a dogfight for them every game. They lost Jamar Chase to the draft, Joe Burrow. Or Jamar Chase opted out, and literally everyone else decided to go pro last year. So it's like no matter what, that's gonna be a battle. It's not like, I mean, LSU's been good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like they're Ohio State where they're solid every year. You know what I mean? So Oklahoma going down was a shock. Not gonna lie, but yeah, I'll tell you what though, Miami's looking good. I'm really excited about Miami, but yeah, I think just the fact that everyone's not been around each other, like it'll be interesting to see when the Big Ten comes back because they got shut down and then they're coming back and then whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. But yeah, definitely kids not being around each other is going to affect certain teams.
Seriously, well, Drew, I appreciate you coming on with us today, and hopefully we'll be seeing you in whenever we get to actually play, whether that be February, March, somewhere around in the quote-unquote spring season that we're going to have.
Well, I'm glad that if we are playing in the spring, we're playing inside your dome because other than that, I can't imagine playing in Houghton.
No way, dude.
10 degrees.
Shovel the field off before the game. Yeah, seriously. But thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time, boss. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Drew.
Of course, for sure. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you, my man. Now, Drew was a quarterback at Oxford High School, one of my rivals in high school, and I had the chance to play against him a bunch in high school. I mean, phenomenal player, and actually taking him from quarterback and turning him over to safety, that's what, like you said, Northwood's trying to do. They've got some good athletes down there, and they've had a decent team in the past. Now, for teams like Northwood and definitely for us at Northern did not have a record last year that was even considering going into the playoffs. So How do you think – I mean, we have to view that a little bit differently. Like, without a postseason, without the playoffs and championship, does that really affect our mindset?
I think just the experience overall, I think is something that all of our players need.
Yeah, it can't be replicated.
No matter what's going to happen, nothing can replicate a game experience. So as much practice as we can get, obviously practicing on the field against our own guys is great, but the experience of playing another team, preparing, watching film on another team, getting to hit somebody else, that's going to be the thing that is going to push us to the next level. So I think if we have any chance of playing, I think we need to, obviously we should take it, but
of course. Now I'll flip it around for you. What about a team like Ferris State down in Big Rapids who lost in the national championship last year and who has been in the playoffs so many years consecutively? And obviously they have their eyes set on much more than just winning the GLIAC. What about a team like that? Do you think that would change their attitude? Obviously we can't speak for them, but
I mean, probably some players.
Yeah.
I feel like, but I don't know. If it were me, I feel like I'd still want to just be out there and be able to play and get practicing, I guess, even if there's not
some game time experience,
something big. Right?
Seriously, yeah, especially if you're trying to play at whether it be like the next level or something like that. If you're trying to get to a bigger Division I or the NFL, whatever it is, you're just trying to get that film out there. But talking about the next level, the Pac-12 just recently made a decision. The last of the Power 5 conferences announced that they will be playing football in the fall. They announced it on Thursday, which was only 8 days after the Big Ten's decision. How much of an impact do you think the Big Ten coming in had on the Pac-12?
Okay, obviously, it probably had the biggest impact. Yeah. The last of the Power 5, all the pressure's on you, especially after the Big Ten sealed the deal. It was pretty much like they had to. It was just a matter of when. And so right after the Big Ten, obviously announced their decision, it was just a matter of time before the Pac-12 just said, we're coming back and we're going to be playing football. So I'm glad all the Power 5 teams are back. We're going to be able to watch some more college football, get some more games in. Watch some more games besides, like the FCS, those first couple weeks.
Yeah.
It was kind of
the cupcake schedule with the big time.
It was, still good football to watch, but, watching the Power 5 is nothing like it. So I'm excited to see that type of competition.
Yeah, as we get into the heart of the schedule, these last few weeks, and now heading into this at this weekend, we've seen a ton of more great games. Now that teams have started to get those first week 1 and 2 kind of cupcake schedule games out of the way, but the Pac-12 is only playing 7 games. They're only playing 7 games. They're starting in early November. And what does that mean for a team like a Utah or an Oregon that really might have some playoff contention or hopefully trying to get to that stage? If you only have 7 games, what does a 7-0 Pac-12 team have over a 9-1 SEC team?
Obviously, that kind of conference, decision making on whether, obviously just like the competition, because people know that the SEC has always been the biggest, baddest. If you're winning in the SEC, you're going to be in the national playoffs. That's just how it is. I mean, ACC, it's always the talk about Clemson. If you barely beat what was it, North Carolina last year?
Yeah.
If you barely walk away with a win like that, I mean, that's obviously going to be different than, LSU barely squeaking away against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different.
As it should be.
And it's just the level of competition within those conferences. And, Pac-12 compared to Big Ten, it's almost like, the competition.
At least right now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there's a disparity right now in the competition. It's more about there are some elite teams in the Pac-12 and some teams that could actually have playoff contention, but the depth is not there. That's, for me, the biggest difference between an SEC or a Big Ten compared to the Pac-12 is the depth. The depth of schedule. Even you have teams that are just trying to scrape out a 500 record in the Big Ten or an SEC. They're damn good teams.
Yes.
Like, they're still very good teams. Now, a large reason, not only was the Big Ten obviously coming back, a huge reason, a large reason for the Pac-12 coming back was a change to their most recent contract in them coming back, which actually conducts daily screenings for COVID. So that's going to be every single test. These athletes are going to be tested. Now, whether that be a swab in the nose or just a quick saliva test, I have no idea. But that's something that had to be a huge factor in the decision, not only because that's something that's going to affect the athletes and coaches' schedules, but that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money to be conducting that many tests every day. So how does that show that they're really looking out for the health of the players, or is that more of a logistics thing? Tough question, really.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to say, I feel like.
I just think that daily testing, I don't know, it seems kind of repetitive, but, if that's the thing that is going to say that we are taking care of our players, and that's the thing that's going to get them past that threshold of, we are caring about our players, so we get to do this now because we are doing daily screenings, which, I mean, you could argue whichever way, but I don't think you're ever gonna know. This is just such a changing disease, and we don't really know what's gonna happen. So it's like, if daily testing is gonna be the thing that gets you past that threshold, then I think that's gonna be big for them.
Yeah. Now that came from the commissioner Larry Scott of the Pac-12, and that's just something that, like you said, if that's the difference between not playing and playing football is daily COVID tests, then so be it. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Right. Now, you also have to think with the amount of false positives that have come out, especially, I know Matthew Stafford was one very notable instance of a false positive, and his wife actually tweeted out and was just appalled by the reaction of some of their, seemingly close friends who were, basically ostracizing them. They were ostracizing their family because they thought they had this disease. And then obviously comes back that he's negative and he's able to play. But she said that whole experience was so eye-opening in a very terrible way. Right. Just because of something, how feeble something like a test result can come back. And even though it's very incorrect and false, that how big of an impact that can have in your life. So when you take that many tests, you have to also take into account there could be some false positives in there.
Yeah,
I definitely think that there's a very good chance that we're going to see, if daily testing is part of that contract, we're going to see a ton of positive cases first off, and you're never really going to know the accuracy of every single one of them. It's going to be just hard.
Yeah, the testing's not very trustworthy.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously going to be making strides as they continue to go on. And we talked about the Oregons and the Utahs, those top-tier teams from the Pac-12. They've had some big-time players that have actually opted out of the season. One of them that I was looking into the other day was Penei Sewell from the O-line of Oregon. Now, this guy is potentially the best O-line draft pick in this year's class. And he's actually already decided to opt out in preparing for the 2021 NFL draft, where, like I said, he's the top prospect. So he's got, not only does he have a legitimate chance to be drafted, he's got a chance to make some real money in the first round of the draft. And for a college kid or anyone in general, when you see that, and then you're talking about the Pac-12 wasn't even going to play, why stick around? Go right now while it's good. But now my question for you guys is, do you think that's just one example? There's people are doing this across the league, across college football. With them coming back to play this season, is there any chance that guys like Penei Sewell will come back and play for their colleges?
I think, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but just the announcement of Rondale Moore, coming back from Purdue, those big time, playmakers for those big time teams is going to be huge for them. I mean, because Rondale Moore was one of the biggest playmakers for the Boilermakers, and last year and the year before. So it's all going to depend. Obviously with the Pac-12 recently making that decision, you could see some more of those big time players coming back. But for somebody like Sewell, who's obviously just going to be a first-round draft pick
because
he is the top offensive lineman in his draft class. Doesn't really have much to worry about at this point, and you just have to – it's all business at this point.
Yeah.
You have to look out for yourself, and if you think that preparing for the draft right now is going to put you in the best standpoint for, your career in the long run,
and financially,
you just have to make that decision for yourself. You can love your team, through and through, but at the end of the day, it's a business. College football, NFL.
Football in general.
Football, just politics and business is really what it boils down to. So you need to make the best decision for yourself. So it's all going to come down to what the player is feeling and then what it's looking like for them for like the future of their career.
Yeah, very much so. And now we talk about the Pac-12 a lot, but obviously the SEC, ACC, and other leagues have been already in competition, and this weekend was no exception. These games have been awesome. Drew talked about Oklahoma, who lost to Kansas State, and they put up 24 unanswered points, which was absolutely nuts. And that game should have happened? No, that game totally got out of hand for Oklahoma, but that's what college football brings. It's upset season. It's the predictability is not there, and that is like just having that on a Saturday to watch has been so awesome to me. And LSU going down, that was an absolutely insane game. So the quarterback from Mississippi State, KJ Costello, threw for 623 yards and 5 touchdowns, setting an SEC record.
Yeah, that's
monster numbers.
Absolute madness. So do you think we're going to see more of this? This top 10, top 25 from the AP poll has been shaken up so much. Is that just going to continue, or are we going to – I think we're going to start to carve out a top 5 or top 10 that will remain.
Obviously, I think once the Big Ten, Pac-12 come back and everybody's playing, it's going to start to even out in that curve of, exponentially changing every single week of these major upsets, number 8 team losing to an unranked. So it's like the changes in – that definitely are going to start to dwindle as more teams are playing, and we're starting to see just the steadiness of what that team is actually about. And we're going to see who actually is the top 25 once those teams get back. And the AP poll is definitely going to start to I think we'll start to see less upsets. And then start to make strides towards that, looking towards like the national championship and the playoffs.
Yeah. Now, like you said, like the Big Ten's not back, Pac-12's not back. There's a lot of teams who are in the AP top 25 or whatever it may be. This is their first appearance ever. Yeah. Now, maybe there's an asterisk next to their name because there's so many teams right now that are not in contention for those rankings. But just for those teams, that's got to be an awesome feeling. Right now, the team I'm watching is Louisiana, Raging Cajuns, man. They're 3-0. They just won on a game-winning field goal against a team that Georgia Southern that they really should have put up many more points against. But, I mean, 3-0 is 3-0, and Louisiana is looking really good right now. But teams like that, how fun is it to watch? For me, it's almost been a new perspective on college football. You get so pulled into these big-time matchups, and now we get to see all these smaller FBS and even FCS schools go at it. And for me, it's been an interesting perspective just to see like the different level of athletes.
Yeah, definitely. Just the competition doesn't matter. Football's football. I'll always love watching it, but some of these teams that you never really heard of, they're starting to see a little bit more screen time. So you never really heard about like Louisiana State and until now, because they're finally starting to get that recognition, because it may or may not be because the other teams aren't playing, but they're making a name for themselves, and you just like to see those teams like that succeed and definitely bring their name up.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a coach right now in the locker room, I'm telling these guys, this might be the first and last time you're on ESPN 1 or ESPN 2.
Exactly.
Like maybe that's motivation for some people, maybe not for others. But for me as a coach, I'm telling you, like, this is your chance. Like, go make a name for yourself. Go make a name for your program. Go make a name for your team. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. I mean, what does that mean to the guys in the locker room, you think?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, for me, most guys in the locker room, I think that they would take that as fuel, kind of.
Yeah, like motivation.
And want to play hard and play good.
Yeah.
So people know who they are and kind of put themselves on the map.
Yeah, because that's what they're trying to do, really. You get out of high school and you're going to just try and make a name for yourself, especially if you're trying to play at the next level, which a large majority of Division I athletes are really trying to make that next jump. So whenever you can get screen time on a big-time network like that, that's
a big deal.
It's a huge deal. A game that I was watching as well was the Texas Tech game, which went into overtime, and Texas actually survived. So Ellinger and the Longhorns finally pulled that one out. But that game was awesome. It was like almost 60 to 6, like up in the over 100 points.
To 50.
Yeah, over 100 points scored on the night, just going back and forth. That is the kind of college football that I absolutely miss, and I hope we get to see so much more of that. Do you guys catch any of that game?
I watched the majority of it, and I also watched some of the highlights. It was definitely, Texas Tech definitely thought towards the end there. I think it was like, a few more minutes left. And you saw Texas Tech's quarterback, throw the horns down.
Yep.
And just like that, it totally flipped. So, it was kind of funny to see that just because, the irony of that happening.
Oh, yeah.
And
because if that happens, then that video is going to go up on every single social media.
Already up on ESPN, on Instagram, Twitter.
And that's where you're going to be. You're not going to be remembered for putting up 50-some points against a quality team like Texas, because that quarterback was having a hell of a game. Yeah. He was having a great game. Yeah. But now you're going to be remembered for putting a horns down and losing the game, because at the end of overtime, actually, he throws a quick swing pass to his running back. The running back drops it. It's ruled a fumble. Everyone thinks they won. They overturn it. So they get another play. What's he do? He goes and throws an interception on the next play. Yeah. And it was kind of hard to watch for him. But at the same time, you're like, why do I feel bad for this guy? He's the one that was just doing horns down like 15 minutes ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it does stink for him. That's just a choice you have to make. But that stinks for him. He's going to be remembered for just, horns down and blowing it in overtime compared to, that's probably one of the best games of his career on a primetime network. You might never get that chance again.
Exactly. It was just an unfortunate situation for him. I mean, maybe he should not have thrown the horns down. Yeah. I don't really know.
If you're in the moment, you're feeling confident.
Exactly.
Like,
if you're in the moment, it's definitely just out of spite. You're just feeling it, and then you're just
big time rivalry game. Emotions are very high in state. That's just stuff like that is expected to happen, but you got to follow through on it.
Yeah, and maybe the defense, if they would have held up, nobody would have been talking about it.
Yeah,
but
that's also true.
You're never gonna know.
Yeah,
so
you could spread the blame elsewhere. But enough of college football, even though we've been getting our fair share of it. Looking on to the NFL, we've got some good matchups. And I know Drew is talking about his Baker Mayfield and his Browns, but they have not really pieced anything special together for me, I would say.
I don't know. I mean, the big win against the Bengals, was that last Thursday night? So that was a big win for them.
Obviously,
they needed that win.
Yeah.
If they were going to do anything in the season, getting smoked by the Ravens, it was almost just like, this is his time's dwindling here. And I think if Baker needs this season more than anything right now, and he needs to be in his prime, making big time throws, making big time decisions when the game's on the line. He needs to be the
guy that everyone wants him to be, who everyone thought he was.
Exactly.
He needs to be that guy for that organization right now.
And I think he will. Honestly, my honest opinion is I think he will. It's hard to tell. Their big power offense. Everybody was really talking about him. Kareem Hunt's definitely starting to resurface, I guess you could say, with him and Nick Chubb both rushing for 2 touchdowns. It was an insane offensive performance for them.
Yeah, when you balance
big time fantasy, that's for sure.
When you balance the offense like that, opens up so many more opportunities for your quarterback.
Exactly.
It's unreal. Now, playing today, we have the Rams at the Bills, who are both 2-0 on the year. So I know you said you've been watching a lot of Josh Allen.
Big Josh Allen guy.
I'm becoming a big Josh Allen fan over there. Bills Mafia absolutely loves him. He's already thrown for 700 yards and 6 touchdowns through 2 weeks this season.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a kid. I say kid, even though he's older than myself. But relatively speaking, it doesn't sound like a kid who just entered the league a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like someone who's been established with a program, and he's really starting to make a name for himself.
Yes. Yeah. I think definitely his first few years in the season, you could see the talent. You could definitely see, obviously his arm is just insane.
Oh, the arm talent was absolutely obvious.
It is crazy. I don't think anybody could ever replicate it. He may or may not have the strongest arm in the league, maybe ever, So him piecing that together is definitely, you can see how he's using that talent along with, making those experience reads. He's been in the league for a few years now. Obviously not, a Tom Brady's not been in the league for a long time, but, he's starting to piece it together. He's starting to use his arm for him. and, making big-time throws, big-time reads,
Yeah.
and, ultimately
Things
he's
that a
taking,
franchise
yes,
quarterback should do.
He is taking the games over, and he is, putting the Bills in the best position to win in every game that they've been in so far.
Yeah, so they're playing the Rams today, and like I said, his stats right now are absolutely insane, but the Rams have close to double the amount of rushing yards per game than the Bills right now, as it stands, led by Malcolm Brown in the backfield. But the Rams are kind of an interesting team for me right now. Obviously, with the location change, not so recently, but coming over to LA, and they've stuck with Jared Goff, and that's been their guy. And they obviously years past have had great success with him, and he's done some great things, but he's been very quiet. And their decision to stick with him and to continue to pay him on a regular basis and keep to fill his contracts, that's been something that's caused a lot of controversy, especially with the quarterback market this year in free agency was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Cam Newton didn't even get picked up by any teams until Bill Belichick took a chance on him, and now he's the face of the Patriots. Yeah. So with a quarterback market like that, is it absolutely insane that they didn't pick up somebody else for the Rams, or are they is sticking with Goff? When is that going to pay off for them, or is it not?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell right now. It is 2 weeks into the season. You never really know what could happen later in the season. He could just turn it on maybe today. So it's hard to tell with the big free agency market with Cam Newton. If they would have taken him in the free agency, that's hard to tell on what that would have done to the dynamic of their team. So that him coming in, especially Cam Newton, big time personality.
Yeah.
It's going to change. I don't think Goff has that same personality, and it's hard to tell what would have happened to the team, whether it would have been like a cancerous type thing, or how that would have really paid out for them. So
yeah, when you're taking a quarterback, not to cut you off there, but when you're taking a quarterback, it's much more than just a player. It's a person, and it's a dynamic. It's going to change the locker room. That your culture is going to be very reflected on the quarterback, or your quarterback's culture is going to be reflected on the team. They're very highly regarded usually as leaders of a team, as they should be, because they're in charge of so much of a team's success, and they have such a critical role in that. So bringing on a new franchise quarterback is obviously not a light decision. It's not like you can just go out and pick one up off the side of the road and now your team's complete. But there's like you said, there's a whole culture change that might have needed to happen had you brought in somebody else. So right now with their current management right now in LA, maybe they just thought that Goff's still our guy. Goff's still our guy. We're very familiar with him. It's a safe choice, and sometimes that's all you can hope for is just a safe choice. Something that's not going to get you, I don't want to say get you in trouble, but season and record-wise, it's not going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, and I don't mean to take this off topic because, I'm a big Packers fan, and with this draft that just happened, obviously there's some questions. So like you said, it's not a light decision about taking a franchise quarterback. And so when they took Jordan Love and still decided to start Aaron Rodgers, I was like, questioning why that was, because
many people were.
It's wow. Anyways,
that's a bit mind-boggling. What we've seen,
it still hurts.
What we've seen from Aaron Rodgers in 2 weeks too has not warranted any need of a backup. Well, I shouldn't say a backup, but of a replacement.
No decline. Let's just put it that way. And I just wanted to set the record straight. There's no decline there.
What we've seen so far,
I am just saying. Anyways,
we get it.
Jordan Love, if he's going to sit on the bench for 3 years, that changes, the fans' dynamic with the team. Drafting a quarterback and taking a franchise quarterback changes the entire, mood of the team and the franchise as a whole, whether it's the fan base or everything. Like, it completely is, it was one of the biggest talks of this offseason.
Yeah, and of the draft. It was probably one of the biggest points of the draft.
So
it was a first-round draft pick that you could have used to get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers.
And it's
after
not
last year,
seeming like he's dwindling in his performances. So it's just so tough to watch. I mean, obviously they're 2-0, playing the Saints tonight. Going to be watching that game. Big-time performances by both quarterbacks are going to need to be had. Obviously, Packers are going to come out with it.
There you go.
But
you heard it here first.
You heard it here. You heard it here.
Yeah. The other great game today that's going on, it's actually starting right now, is the Pittsburgh Steelers who are hosting the Texans. Now, the biggest storyline for the Texans so far has been the loss of DeAndre Hopkins. For me, that's been their biggest storyline because Deshaun Watson, as much of a true competitor and absolute just athlete that he is, I don't know if he can do it on his own. And he's really missing Hop out there for his number one target.
You know, there was, I guess you could definitely see in, I guess the Chiefs especially, the amount of drops that were happening. And it was like, you know, DeAndre Hopkins definitely would have helped right there.
Yeah.
So Deshaun Watson is kind of in a scramble right now. And, you know, I don't know if it's solely on the loss of DeAndre Hopkins, but a weapon of that caliber,
right?
You know,
you're going to feel their, what's the word? You're going to feel when they're gone, you're going to feel that absence. That's what I'm looking for. You're going to feel that absence.
I feel like throughout these next couple weeks, I feel like they might start to figure some things out a little bit.
Yeah.
Between him
They're
and
gonna
other
need
receivers like Brandon
They-
Cooks.
yeah,
Fuller,
exactly.
Will Fuller.
Exactly. And they need to. Like Zach said,
Yes,
they need to.
they
But
do.
this week is not the week that they needed to figure that out because Pittsburgh's defense has been it's been awesome. And people are calling it a Super Bowl caliber defense. You got TJ Watt coming off the outside. He's been doing some insane things on the pass rush game. Minka Fitzpatrick as safety has been doing, I mean, he's a very instinctual player, uses his eyes very well, reads the quarterback. And then you have Cameron Hayward on the defensive line, who's just a natural born leader. And he's really kind of been the heart and soul of that unit. Along with some other interior defensive linemen who have been, you know, their run stopping game, they're in between the tackles, as well as, like I said, the pass rushing game. They're a very complete defense.
definitely.
Yeah.
And
Probably
that,
the most. in the
exactly.
NFL.
And definitely arguably one of the most. And that is scary for a team like the Texans who are just, like you said, trying to figure it out.
Can't figure out.
They're trying to figure it out. And that this week is not what they wanted.
It's going to be a gauntlet.
It's going to be a great game. And now Pittsburgh is at home, so that's going to be another factor that plays into it. And Big Ben, for me, the one factor that's going to change the outcome of this game is Big Ben. And if he steps up and matches the caliber play of his defense, or just steps up his game and elevates his game, not that we've seen anything that's been terrible from him. He just hasn't been his usual self coming off of the injury and some of the other off-season interesting conversations that were had about Big Ben. We won't go into that, but he needs to step up his game. And that's, for me, has been something that even we saw the Steelers last year without Big Ben coming in. You had Doug Hodges and these other quarterbacks that were just trying to fill in. The Steelers almost made it to the playoffs. Without Big Ben, without a prominent franchise quarterback, that defense, I shouldn't say by themselves, but that defense carried them almost to a playoff berth.
Yes.
Now you've got offensive playmakers like James Conner, like Juju Smith-Schuster that are getting things done on the offensive side of the ball. But Big Ben needs to step up and elevate his play, keep his defense off the field, and I think they're going to give the Texans more than they can handle. I think Steelers are taking this one.
Steelers are definitely going to take this one. It's you know, it would be a miracle for the Houston Texans to just have such a turnaround, you know, to match up against a defense of that caliber. That would be one of the biggest turnarounds, I think, in, you know, NFL history. Holy crap, I just messed it up. Anyways.
Yeah, for them to, like you said, they're trying to figure it out. If they all of a sudden just started clicking on all cylinders and made this thing happen today, I mean, more power to them. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't.
Steelers are running away with it.
Monday Night Football has possibly the best game we've seen in a long time. And we haven't even seen it yet, but potentially one of the best games we've seen in a long time. That's the Kansas City Chiefs, who are traveling to Baltimore for the Monday Night Football game. So the first thing that comes to mind is Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, who we've seen them in college, Texas Tech, you know, and Louisville battling it out. What do we expect from this game?
Obviously, I think it's going to be a shootout. Ravens have a pretty solid defense, and, you know, respectively with the Chiefs defense you can't take anything away from them. Obviously, coming off the Super Bowl, Lamar coming off the MVP, it's just going to be a battle, and I can't wait to watch it. I'm a quarterback, so I'm an offensive-minded guy. I can't wait to watch, you know, both offenses battle it out. Definitely a little bit different play styles from both of those quarterbacks. Patty Mahomes, obviously, with, you know, big-time arm talent, making down-the-field throws. Lamar Jackson can, but obviously his game is, you know,
different,
making the people miss, and we haven't been seeing it since, you know, like the Mike Vicks, all of those type of players where, you know, quarterbacks with those just a ridiculous speed, and it doesn't matter. They're both big-time playmakers, and we're going to see, you know, lights, camera, action on Monday night.
Oh, totally agreed. And you talked about the quarterbacks, how they have very individualized games. Now, the teams, I think, also reflect that very well. The Chiefs are a team, they're going to spread out, and they're going to throw it across the field all over the place, and they're going to go to all their different weapons. Then they're going to sneak behind and hand it off to Clyde. And he's been having a great first couple weeks.
Very, very, very good back.
Edwards-Helaire, that is the steal right now of the draft. Coming in at the last pick of the first round, the Chiefs picked him up. So the Chiefs, really, that's their game plan. They're going to spread you out. They're going to go to all their numerous amount of targets, whether it be Kelsey. Watkins is actually questionable, so Watkins may or may not be there. But they're going to really spread you out and get to those big-time targets across the field, whereas Baltimore likes to sometimes go in double tight and just pack the box and run an option. You know, they run an option like, really utilizing Lamar's play style and trying to get him outside of the box and running downfield is what they want.
Yeah, both of those weapons, offensive weapons, obviously with the addition of J.K. Dobbins in the draft, helping him with Mark Ingram. When they run that option, having those two very powerful backs, fast, Heisman.
You can't do it without him.
Yeah, exactly. So
with that stable of backs,
and you get Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all those guys in space. They're going to make things happen, just like on the other side of the ball. So I can't wait to watch. It's going to be a great game to watch, and
that'll be the first matchup between reigning MVPs, obviously Lamar last year, and Patrick Mahomes the year before that, both under 25. Absolutely ridiculous numbers for both those individuals. Yeah. But that's all we've got for today for Division I Rejects. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in, whether it be you're watching us right now on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, whatever it is. If you enjoyed it, go tell your friends about us. That'd be great. I'd really appreciate it.
Give us a little shout out.
If you didn't enjoy it, don't say anything about it. But if you did enjoy it, please go tell your friends about it. And if you have any connections that would love to be on the podcast, we're very open. Our business email is on our profile, so just reach out. Any feedback is super appreciated. And let's go see some great football today, guys.
Yes, sir.
Have a great weekend.
Turn them on.